Welcome and thank you so much for joining us for this Light Bearers Mission Community Empowerment Hour. We aim to share presentations that will empower our community. We have shared various topics such as finance, nutrition, plant-based cooking demos, hydrotherapy, natural remedies, use of natural herbs, various health topics, gardening, and much more. You can find the recordings of our past presentations on our website, empoweredforhealth.com. If you haven't subscribed already, please put your email in the chat so that you can receive messages for our upcoming presentations. It is our purpose to make a difference in the community through training and providing information for our community members and their families. We believe we are making a difference in the lives of some of our listeners, and we are aiming to prepare presentations that will teach communities on uplifting and overcoming addictions. And we are just ready to present as much as we can. So stay tuned. We also desire to get your input on various topics, such as anything that comes to mind. We will have a poll a little later on that and collect your thoughts on that. So for this format this evening, we will have a presentation followed by a Q&A session. So with that being said, our presentation will be, you will turn off your audio and your video. We ask you that you turn off your audio and your video this time until the presentation is over, because we're recording. But while the presentation is going on, you can always put your questions in the chat so that you may be able to get your questions answered at the end of the presentation. So our evening's topic is Ask the Doctor. Dr. Jim Sharps returns his time with presenting us on how we can prepare for the flu season. And so we are going to have the question and answer after the presentation. You can ask your questions on whatever you like and on whatever the topic of choice. So please, without further ado, we would like to ask God's blessing over the presentation, and then we will get into our presentation. So let us now bow and pray. Gracious, most kind Heavenly Father, thank you so much for allowing us to come together to learn how to be empowered, Lord, to do your will. We ask a special blessing over the presenter, the message, and we ask that you be with the technology. Please let the Holy Spirit guide us in everything that we speak and do. In Jesus' name, I humbly pray. Amen. So without further ado, I present to you Dr. Jim Sharps. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharps. We are so glad to have you once again, and we are just glad to have you.
Thank you very much, Monique. Thank you for that enriching prayer. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the session to Ask the Doctor. And our particular topic is preparing for the flu season. This is one of my favorite topics. One of my genetic predispositions is towards respiratory issues, so I know quite a bit about all kinds of respiratory issues. I used to have chronic bronchitis issues, allergies, etc. So that was what actually what started me on this whole path to health. I was blessed with poor health, and that was one of the main issues that I suffered with. So I am particularly delighted to share some things that I've learned over the last 50 years, first personally and then as a practitioner with this valued audience. So let me get right to the presentation. Let me see here. Here we are. Okay, hopefully you can see that. preparing for the flu season with an immune system reboot. Let me warn you before we get started, you need to be careful because the things I'm going to share with you clearly works for respiratory issues and specifically for the flu. But you might find that you'll be spending a lot less time in doctor's offices because it also has effects on a whole host of other issues like diabetes and blood pressure and cancer prevention, etc. And you'll see as we go through this, and as I kind of set the background for the general ask the doctor questions, there is a powerful system that one can ascribe to that will help you to prevent all chronic degenerative diseases. And of course, flu is just one of those things. So let's proceed, and let's start out by looking at what those 10 factors are that are underlying all diseases, and look at the ones that we're going to focus on in particular for the flu. And so what we're going to look at applying natural remedies for enhancing the immune system. And these are the 10 major factors underlying all diseases, whatever they are. You see this little book over here on the side, De Gouwen's diagnostic examination. All medical students pretty much go through this. And it goes through all of the different things that they look at. And if you ever have any problems sleeping at night, I recommend you reading this book. It's small print, it's a lot in there. But basically, depending upon what edition you look at, there's some 10 to 12, I kind of focused on 10, of the underlying factors for all diseases. This is what they look at: infection, inflammation, malignancy, which is cancer, toxicity, trauma, genetic, psychiatric, iatrogenic, nosocomial, and idiopathic. As you can see, I highlighted those things that have a particular affinity to, and that you want to focus on for flu. And in general, for all bacterial and viral issues. Well, we're going to specifically focus on the flu tonight. So infection and inflammation, toxicity because of the buildup of the toxins, we look at that. And you know, as soon as the weather starts to change and you're indoors a lot, there's a big psychiatric, emotional element involved also, where, you know, there's just a natural tendency towards being a little bit more anxious, a little bit more unbalanced in a lot of different ways, depressed with the darkness and all of that. So there is a psychiatric element, and your psychology, your mental and emotional health does play a major role and is an underlying factor for many disease processes. But we're going to focus on these key things as we look at how to be empowered to be prepared for the flu season. Now let's look at the conventional approach. And what we're going to look at is conventional versus natural. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the conventional, but just as a foundation, from a conventional standpoint, the definition and the focus is from in the allopathic or in the conventional world. Basically, they look at all health issues as an abnormal condition of the organism which interrupts the normal bodily functions that often leads to feeling of pain, weakness, and usually associated with signs and symptoms. And the key point is, from a conventional medicine standpoint, the focus is on signs and symptoms.
Excuse.
Yes.
Sorry, Dr. Sharp. Someone is asking if you can enlarge your screen. I think you have it right now in the presenter mode. Probably if you should switch, make it a little bit larger.
Let me see if I can change that and tell me if this works better.
That's better. Yes.
Is that bigger?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see you saw the previous slides?
I'm not seeing the previous, just seeing the current slide.
No, but you saw the previous slides, okay?
All right. Yeah.
So you saw this, okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, let me proceed from here then.
Thanks.
Okay, so from a natural standpoint, disease is looked at as an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. So one is focusing on signs and symptoms, that's the conventional approach. And on the natural side, it's a violation of laws of health. And here is basically, remember we said one of those things is toxic accumulation. And this is what happens from overeating and poor diet and lifestyle. Here are the sources of the toxins. Those toxins can come from air, it can come from food, it can come from water, medications, grooming products, household products. All of these things that are assaulting those 80 to 100 trillion cells in the body. And if your body, anything that your body doesn't assimilate or eliminate is a poison. So these toxins get accumulated and stored in the body fat, and a lot of weight gain is a result of it. And over here, you can see some of the examples of basically where those toxins are stored, a whole host of named diseases for the joints, muscles, lungs, and you know the names, the nerves, the liver, the colon, skin, brain, all these different things. There is accumulation of those toxins and or the not having the appropriate nutrients for its functional integrity. So either it's deficiency of nutrients, and those nutrients are mainly minerals, and or the accumulation of toxins. And then if these 5 organs of elimination get blocked up, it results in a whole host of named diseases. One of the foundational principles I want to leave you with right in the beginning is focusing on laws of health is a much easier way to manage your health than trying to focus on diseases. There's some 800 to 8,000 named diseases. If you focus on it from a laws of health, you only need to know 8 things, 8 laws. And we're going to see here, if you put these laws together in an integrated, comprehensive fashion, it takes care of all of those 800 to 8,000 named diseases. So it's your choice. This is just a very empowering way and very powerful way of managing your health and vitality. So let's look at the first one was antimicrobial, and the antimicrobial standpoint for rebooting the immune system for the flu season, we focus on pharmaceuticals, not with a PH, but with an F. And these are the kind of pharmaceuticals that are very, very powerful. And I'm going to show you how you can put this together in a very, very powerful flu shot, if you will, for the flu season. So there's these pharmaceuticals. And in addition, there are a number of other herbs and nutraceuticals that have very, very powerful effects for infection and parasites and all of those bacterial and viral issues, and specifically has a very empowering effect over flu. And I'm going to show you how you can use some of these. I'm not going to focus on all of them. I just wanted to give a list of how rich and powerful the natural approach is. So there are 8 laws, but there are many, many ways of putting it together. And what I want to show is a very nice 2-phased approach for being able to attack this in a very practical but empowering way. There's also some ancillary natural treatments, and these are things like heat therapy, contrast showers, ozone therapy, far infrared therapy, hyperbaric, colonics massage. And this is a short list of the many different ancillary things. And just to mention, just for example, the first one, just for your information, you may know this already, but many people don't act like they know it. As soon as they get a fever of 101 and 102, they want to put on their best sneakers and run to the emergency room as quickly as they can. But most bacteria and viruses can't live in above 102 degrees. So that fever is your friend. Now, you don't want it to be too friendly, but information is power. If you understand that your body can go up to 112 degrees, okay, 102 is not that scary. But if you think that you're going to die at 103, 104, it's pretty scary. Now, I don't like to see it go above 104, 105. And when many of my clients call me, especially for their children, who basically they say, well, there's 101 temperature, 100, here's, little Mikey or little Michelle has a fever of 101. What should I do? I said, try to get it up to 102 to 103. It's very difficult to get it that high. But that's your body trying to get hot enough to be able to kill off that bacteria, to kill off those viruses. And I ask people all the time, how many people have you heard died of a temperature? Where they said such and such died, had a high temperature. You very rarely hear it. And the few times that it happens, and when they do the autopsy, what they find is that the body couldn't get, and you know, they talk about the head, they went kind of crazy, this, that, and the other thing, and the brain was too heated up, etc. And there is a little bit of truth to that. What they find in the autopsy was that the body couldn't get hot enough to kill off the microbe that was in the brain. So it just basically was able to proliferate and cause all kinds of problems. I'm not going to go through all of these. I just wanted to share with you that there are very, very powerful therapies out there, ancillary therapies that go with the herbal, the dietary, and lifestyle factors. All these are very, very, very powerful. And if you see one in particular that you're interested in, please take a note of it, and I'll go into more detail in the question and answer session. But in the interest of time, I wanted to get through some key factors here to show you how empowered you are with very simple and very powerful natural remedies. For parasite elimination, which is also is very problematic and causes all kinds of problems and makes it even more miserable when you have a cold, a flu. And incidentally, a flu is a cold with a college education, so you want to take it seriously, but you can handle it. But parasite, you know, and you get all that congestion, and that congestion in the body, when those organs of elimination that I showed you earlier, when they get blocked up, you get constipated, you get gas and burping, so you're feeling really terrible. And one real simple measure for dealing with parasites and that congestion is just castor oil. Castor oil or any synergistic combination of these herbs, black walnut hulls, wormwood, caprylic acid, aloe, garlic, podarco, clove seed, all of these by themselves are very, very powerful anti-parasitic, anti-inflammatory kinds of herbs and nutraceuticals. Diatomaceous earth is part of that, pumpkin seed, rosemary leaf, garlic. You're familiar with some of these. Thyme, Solomon seed. So and so if you're looking for a parasite product, the reason why I mentioned this, you want to get a good product that is a combination of one or more of these. Synergy means 1 and 1 is more than just 2. So the more as you add these together, it significantly enhances the effect. And it's not arithmetically, it's a multiplier effect, not an arithmetic effect when you put it together in a synergistic form like this. So let's look at the phase 2 approach. And you want to execute this phase 2 approach in terms of preparedness upon the first symptom of sore throat, fever, runny nose, loss of smell, headache, cough, sneezing, any of those respiratory issues that you know it right away. You get that little tickle in the throat, etc. So upon that first symptom, you want to start this 2-phased approach. Phase 1 is I like oregano oil, and I've been doing this for over 30 years now. So it is time honored. It works extremely well. So this is a system that I've used. I actually even used it for COVID, and it worked real well for that. The reason why I started out with, I like Echinacea Golden Seal, but that's not always practical. You know, it comes in like a 4-ounce bottle or 2-ounce bottle, 1 to 2 dropables 3 to 5 times a day. But oregano oil comes in a little tiny bottle, and it's very, very powerful. You can put it in, you can carry it in your glove compartment, in your purse. And as soon as you experience one of those symptoms that we talked about earlier, any of these symptoms, you do 5 to 15 drops. Now, I know some people that go up to 30 drops. This is very, very powerful. And sometimes you have to have the esophagus of a kung fu warrior to be able to use the drops. It's strong. It won't kill you. You might want to kill me for mentioning it, or you might want to feel like you're that, but it's very, very powerful. So imagine if your eyes get watery for a quick second and it's strong, imagine what those tiny looking microscopic size, micrometer size bacteria and viruses experience. So you just put a couple of drops under the tongue, and you can do that while you're in the car, while you're at your workplace, and it's very, very convenient. And you can do that throughout the day. You can do it every half hour, every hour to 2 hours, based on how acute the situation is. And then, but this is my favorite, Echinacea golden seal. Echinacea is a powerful immune enhancer. Golden seal is a powerful antimicrobial. It's actually been used very effectively for malaria and things of that nature. But now, one of the points I want to make, and sometimes you see people say 1 to 2 drops of the oregano oil. One of the points I want to make is one of the reasons why people don't have good success with herbs is because they pay too much attention to the recommended dosages. Now, if you look at what Echinacea golden seal is, it'll probably tell you 30 drops or 15 to 30 drops. I say a whole dropperful or 2 dropperfuls. And one of the things I want to share with you is people don't die of herbs. There's 5 to 10 people that die a year from herbs. And that's from using not any of the kind of herbs that I'm going to be mentioning, but certain very potent herbs that are used incorrectly, and they use it in a wrong way. But people don't, now you might get an upset stomach, you might get diarrhea, you won't from an overdose of this. It might hurt your pocketbook more before it'll hurt you. Now for pharmaceuticals, over 100,000 people die a year from properly prescribed medicines, and many, including the ones for cold and flu. So people die. I said 5 to 10 for herbs. I didn't say 5 to 10,000. And there are over 2 million side effects where people don't die, but serious side effects where they have to go to the emergency room and things of that nature. So you don't go after an elephant with a BB gun. And so you want to make sure you're taking the appropriate amount. You gargle with the apple cider vinegar. Now that's not too easy in the workplace. That's why I said 1 to 2 times a day. You can do it in the morning, you can do it in the evening. And what you want to do is get a little bit on the back of your throat, gargle it for about up to a good minute, and let just a little bit go down in your throat, and that'll prevent any of those viruses, bacteria from entering into the lungs. And then the natural flu shot, 1 or more teaspoons every half an hour to an hour, and I'm going to show you that on the next slide. And then onion soup. Vitamin C is a very important vitamin. It's one of the single most important ones. Now let me tell you what vitamin C is. If you build a brick house, the cement is what holds those bricks together. Without the cement and those bricks, they're not too, there's not very good support, and they can fall all over each other. The vitamin C is the cement for the cells. And if you get that cement right, those bacteria and viruses just can't get into the cell. Even with COVID, the issue was always a function of dose, duration, and susceptibility. It's the same thing with the flu. It means how much of the viral load were you exposed to, how long you were exposed to it, and how susceptible you were to it. Now we're going to cover all those issues, obviously, with the flu. But onion soup is one of the highest food-based sources of vitamin C on this planet. So onions are very powerful, and I'm going to show you how you put this together in a very, very powerful, what I call the flu shot. And the point I want to make here is that, which is what I meant, what I said earlier, hit it hard. Don't play with it. Don't tease it with a BB gun. Hit it hard initially with the amounts based on level of infection and individual requirements and capacities. One size doesn't fit all. So for a child, you might want to use 1 to 2 drops here. For somebody that's 275 pounds, a line blocker for the for the football team, you might want to go as high as the 15 to 30 drops. So use good common sense, and you want to focus on individual requirements and capacities: height, weight, age, level of health, etc. This is the natural flu remedy, cough and flu remedy. This is the foundation of it. Here's that one whole onion, warm water, 5 to 10 cloves of garlic. People know how powerful garlic is. The juice of 2 to 3 fresh lemons, not lemon juice, and 1/4 cup of honey, which kind of takes some of the pungency out of it and some of the bitter taste out of this. And then these are some other things. Turmeric is a very powerful anti-inflammatory. Peppermint oil is really good for the respiratory system. Cayenne is very good for the circulation. Horseradish and lemon alone is a powerful remedy even for asthmatics. Ginger. So based on the availability, you put this concoction together, you blend it together, and you take that 1 or 2 teaspoons every half an hour to an hour throughout the day, then as needed for 3 to 10 days. So that is that powerful phase 1 approach. And this is how you make the onion soup. It's simply onions. You put you quarter the onions, you put it in the water, celery, peppers. You can put some other spices in there like cayenne and ginger, turmeric, the ones that I showed on the previous page. And you want to simmer. The key is you don't want to beat it up. You want to simmer it for 15 to 20 minutes and do not overcook. And it's actually pretty enjoyable. You can put a couple of spices in there if you want to, allspice, and other herbs for taste. And the key with herbs is you just want to put a pinch. And what I mean by pinch, you shouldn't have any taste at all, but it does enrich it, and it does synergistically enhance the soup. You can also make a vegetable broth as a part of a meal, which includes the onions, but it's a high bioavailability liquid mineral cocktail. Now, why do I mention this liquid mineral cocktail? The body requires 84 minerals, and the best source of those minerals aren't in pills, powders, and potions. It's from food. We're not made in a laboratory, and we don't function as well from things that come from a laboratory, pills, powders, and potions. We come from those things that are from the manufacturing facility that God designed, which is called a plant. And the plant takes all of those inorganic minerals that are in the dirt, and it organizes them for bioavailability. So that's the best source of it. And then if you get this nice rich vegetable soup with a lot of variety of color, now those different colors represents the different types and proportions of those 84 minerals I spoke about. And so it does a couple of things. It provides the minerals that we're made of to replace the cells. You can't replace cells without these minerals. And your body doesn't really function. That's a whole topic for another time, and I'm going to just hit it for just a quick minute at the end, because this is very important to understand, and I'll tell you a couple of tips for how you can honor this without knowing anything. What I mean by that, you don't have to go to any schools, you don't have to go to any seminars. I'm going to show you a couple of little tips and techniques that you can use, and I'll probably use them as well in the question and answer session. But it promotes, and you can see by heating it up, it promotes that fever therapy we talked about. Remember, we said bacteria and viruses are destroyed by heat, and you can add a lot of those products, those other things that we talked about, those antimicrobials and respiratory support kinds of herbs and spices into that blend. So what's phase 2? Phase 2, which is going to take a little bit more time, and you can't do this while you're at work, but you want to do a cleansing and building program. You want to clean out, remember we said all that toxic buildup. And here's a lot of different things that help. The dry skin brushing, you know about the hot tub bath now. Contrast showers, which is a very, very powerful blood massage, that hot, cold. Any of these that you want that aren't clear to you, please just make a note and I'll expand on it. But clay baths are very good. If you use that green clay and you put it in the bath, it actually pulls poisons out of the skin. Infrared sauna, activated charcoal, heavy metal detox, colon hydrotherapy, all these kinds of cleansing and rebuilding things. And then if you have any pre-existing conditions, or if you already have a pre-existing condition like respiratory issues, you want to have an humidifier or an ionizer or vaporizer, any of those things that you can put the essential oils in to enhance the effectiveness and the functional integrity of the respiratory system. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on these, but if you have cardiovascular or other emotional things that you're going through, there are some very powerful over-the-counter herbs and products that you can use to also take care of those pre-existing, what they call, if you remember during the COVID issue, the people that had the biggest problems were what they were calling those comorbidities. They had 3 to 5 comorbidities. And incidentally, less than 1%, I think it was something like 0.3% of the population actually died of it. Now, I'm not making light of it. One, if it's a friend, family, or associate, is too many. But strange credulity why this was really called a major pandemic. Now, there was a pandemic long time ago when they during the Black Plague, where 250,000 of the people in the world were wiped out. This was less than 1%, which is still plenty, and you still take it seriously. But they were very powerful, simple, natural remedies that could have dealt with that. And it's interesting to note. And I looked at the statistics. The statistics from the flu went down for the last 2 years. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that what they did was they basically took what was a flu season and they took this coronavirus, which was serious, and anything that had a respiratory effect, they were calling coronavirus. And the bottom line is there was more politics and more economics involved in that whole issue than there was science. And that's starting to come out now. You didn't see a whole lot during that time period, but if you look at a lot of the studies that are coming out, et cetera, you're seeing that a lot of the biggest issue with coronavirus was that they weren't doing early prevention. They weren't doing the early treatment, and they were waiting too long. So that's why I said hit it. As soon as you get those first, hit it and hit it hard. Don't play with it. It's serious. And if you let it linger for a while, even drugs have a tough time to deal with them. And in the case of this, in case of the coronavirus, it's actually some of the drugs that were applied, even though they may have been effective, they were too late, and it just couldn't get ahead of the head of steam that this particular virus was able to build up by not doing early treatments. But we're going to be prepared this time, aren't we, guys? So other poultices, compresses, so if you know you have tumors and things of that nature, that helps really well. The UV lamp for vitamin D, we already talked about the veggie broth. And there are other supplements and protocols based on whatever pre-existing other comorbidities that you have. And keep hearing me saying, based on the individual requirements and capacities. I'm going to come back to that theme, but that's very important. Do not fall for that one size fits all. If you see any practitioner, medical, non-medical, medical missionary, I don't care what they call themselves, naturopath, if they're giving the same thing to everybody, you might want to scratch your head. We're not all the same. We're different sizes, shapes. We have different makeups. We have the same fundamental makeup and certain foundational things, but you need to change your protocol based on individual requirements and capacities. And I'll come back to that again later, as I said. One of the very important things for colds and flu, and one of the reasons why it happens so much in the wintertime, is because we're not getting enough sunlight. So you need natural radiation to reboot the immune system and to keep it rebooted during the during these winter months. And it's starting right now. So this is a perfect time. Make sure that you're getting your therapeutic dosage of vitamin D. And yes, sometimes, you work, you're getting up when it's dark, you're getting back when it's dark, but love the sun when you can, on the weekends when you can. And if you can't get the sunlight, use therapeutic dosages of vitamin D3. And D3, not D2. D3 is the therapeutic one. The D2, I'm not going to go into all the science, but that's the one you want to get. And about 10,000 units for 10 days is a good way of rebooting and building up your system for the flu season. And of course, you can take that 10 days and take that out to 30 days, 3 to 6 weeks, based again on your personal circumstances. If you know you're not getting any sunlight at all, D3 will work. Also sun lamps, and there's other kind of things you can use. Remember we talked about the emotional support. Here are some really good herbs. St. John's wort is probably one of the more popular ones. We love holy basil. This should be a woman's best friend. And, they seem to love it. And it works really well for the female constitution. I don't know how well it works for men. It just so happens that 70 to 80% of my clients, and most 70 to 80% of the people that go to doctors, happen to be women. I used to think it was because they were much more sensitive, and they are, and they cared about their health, but there actually is a physiological reason for why there's more women that go to doctors and have health issues when they're exposed to the same dietary and lifestyle compromises as men. But ginkgo biloba and gotu kola, really good for the brain. Brain is important. Use 20% of the oxygen. It's the master controller. So this kind of gets that oxygen carrying ability of the blood to the brain. I like 5-HTP SAMe and lithium orotate. These are over-the-counter things that work really well. I talked about sunlight, deep breathing, all of these things, eliminating processed foods and things that you're allergic to, and that systemic cleansing and rebuilding program, which I'll show you in just a second as we start to wind down. But this rounds out those things that I mentioned on that first chart, those 10 factors underlying all diseases. Now here, a lot of times, especially if you eat meat and dairy, you really want to do a heavy metal detox. You want to do it at least once a year, and based on the kind of meat and the types, etc., you might want to do it 2 to 3 times a year. Because what you're doing when you eat meat, in that adipose tissue is all those heavy metals that you might not be getting it from the foods. And there's something called biomagnification. The higher you are on the scale, plants being lower than animals, and the lowest, being lower than that, actually bacteria and viruses at the low end of the scale. And then there's insects, and then there's plants, animals, and then human beings. As you go up in the scale, you tend to hold more and more poison. So human beings hold the highest level of toxins. But next below that are the animals in their adipose tissue. So if you're eating a lot of that, and if you're not eliminating it, a lot of that gets stored in the system. So here's a very, very powerful way for getting rid of a lot of those heavy metals, which has a major impact on the central nervous system and congestion in the organs, etc. Chelation pesto, cilantro, garlic, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. You basically take these and you mix it and make a nice little recipe. It's actually kind of tasty. You only need it for about 6 weeks, about a teaspoon. It's interesting. After the 6 weeks, a lot of the clients call up and say, "Dr. Jim, can I continue taking this? I like this. I put it here and there." It's food. It's like calling me up and I said, "You know what? You should eat more apples. You solve the problem. Can I continue?" Of course, it's apples. It's pears. Everybody should eat a pear a day. A pear a day keeps the constipation away. So a lot of these are foods. If you don't have all of the recipe for this, all the elements for this recipe, you can use coriander seed powder, which is cilantro, same herb, and that's really inexpensive. For $10, you can get a whole bag full of it, and 1 teaspoon a day for 6 weeks. So that's why I said this. If you want a nice little tasty recipe, or if you're too busy, don't have the time or the interest, just use coriander seed powder, and either one of them you use 1 teaspoon a day for 6 weeks, and that's really good for and don't try you didn't wind up at this in one day. Don't try to get rid of it all in 6 or 7 days. Your body needs time. Otherwise, you're going to be a very sad soldier going through withdrawal and what is called a Herxheimer effect, where you're going to feel really terrible. And if you do it in a proper way, then you can do it in a very manageable way without feeling terrible. Now, for younger children, you want to use a quarter to a half a teaspoon. And coriander seed powder is not tasty. You can kind of bury it in smoothies, and you can kind of rough it in the soup and things of that nature. But for kids, for children, younger children, 1 1/4 to a half a teaspoon based on their size and weight, etc. And applesauce tends to work really well. Okay, now you probably didn't think there was surgery involved in respiratory issues and in the flu season, but there is an immune reboot surgery. You want to, and so it's kind of painful, but the surgery is very helpful, and so you do want to cut out certain things to basically be prepared for the season. And so, what organs do you have to cut out? What things that need to be cut out? Well, the good news is, we don't have too many organs. That's not why we're sick. So, a strategy for cutting out organs that are a problem is not a good long-term strategy. We don't have health issues because our body was designed to have certain levels of pharmaceuticals, or we have too many organs. It's not because we don't have enough drugs or too many organs. So what do you need to cut out? What is the natural surgery that's really, really powerful? And if you do this right, this surgical procedure, guess what? You won't need any of the things I said before. You're already prepared. But this should be a part of that recipe. You want to cut out all poor dietary habits: meat, dairy, processed foods, genetically modified foods, hybridized foods, other no-no foods, things that you're allergic to, etc. Poor lifestyle habits, whether it's work, rest, exercise. You want to cut out the anger, the fear, the judgmentalism, the self-righteousness, hate. Hate is a very powerful cancer seed. That's how powerful emotions can have effects. So you want to cut that out. You want to cut out all behavior that's contrary to the 8 natural laws of health. Now, that's pretty painful, but if you do that, you don't need any of the previous things that I talked about. So, like certain cancers, you cut out the tumor early enough, you don't need the chemo and radiation. You got rid of it. This is part of that preparedness, very powerful part of preparedness that everybody can do. Might take a little bit of willpower, a lot of prayer, a lot of family support, etc. But this is a natural surgery that has very, very, very powerful respiratory and other systemic effects. So, the most powerful way for boosting your immune system is an integrated and comprehensive application of these 8 natural laws of health based on personal requirements and capacities. So, I'm ready, Doc. How do I get started today to be ready for the flu season? So, this is what I recommend to get started. You can start this today. Now that you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. So, one way to get started, you can do that anytime. You can start it this weekend. You can start it tomorrow. But I would recommend a 10-day kind of immune system reboot. It's a kind of a fasting program, but it's not a total fast. There's 4 different types of fast. There's total fast, no food, no drink. I'm not recommending that. I'm not even recommending a water fast. I'm recommending more of a restrictive fast and a rotational fast. But this is one that's really, really powerful. And if you can do this, a 3-day fast, it helps to clean the colon, the skin, the kidneys, the lungs, all those organs of elimination we talked about. And you can also, during that fast, use the castor oil, the clay steam bath, the massage, etc., skin brushing, hydrotherapy, some of those ancillary things. But 3 days of fasting. Now, before you panic, say, you know what? I have a job, I have a family, I got a life, I need my energy, I'm exercising. understanding the fasting, you fast every day. Nobody's eating while they're sleeping. So you're fasting between meals. One variation is just an 18-hour fast. If you can't do a full 24, 72-hour fast, meaning, and I'm talking about master cleanse. I'm talking about water, lemon, maple syrup, pinch of cayenne pepper. Those that you're familiar with, the master cleanser. That's what I'm talking about, where you're still getting some nourishment from the maple syrup, from the lemons, which is a very powerful cleanser, etc. So, but an 18-hour fast, if you're eating 3 meals a day, just end it at your second meal. So if you're ending your second meal at 2 o'clock, for example, 18 hours later, 12 hours later is 2 a.m. And then 18 hours would be 8 a.m. So you don't eat anything from 2 p.m. to 8 a.m. People can do that. You won't die, trust me. But even an 18-hour fast, during the 3 days of 18-hour fast, if that's all you can do what you can. And then after that, 3 days of juicing and veggie broths. This is a lot easier to prepare for this 3 days of juicing than going cold turkey from a fast to do this. So, but if you do this, you can do the 3 days of juicing and veggie broth. This is very powerful rebuilding. A lot of those minerals that I talked about, and the garlic, the onion, cilantro, all these very mineral rich builder of the system. And then 4 days of just whole plant-based foods. So just give up your meat and dairy. And if you're going to do meat and dairy, I recommend, just as a general principle, do it more on you don't have to 100% restrict it. That's the best for you. But even if you put it on a rotational basis, once every 3 or 4 days, as opposed to every day. And I remember back in the day, I had 3 meals a day. And so there was no secret to why I had all of these serious health issues. You can do green smoothies, fruits, vegetables, any of these, in a properly combined way based on your digestive requirements and capacities. And we're coming to that very quickly. So that's one thing. And then another very important factor while you're doing that is put together your own natural first aid kit. Don't wait till you have a problem to put everything together. Start gathering those things now and have it ready. So when it hits, you're not in panic mode and you're ready to get right down to business. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this first part of it. If you want a copy of the presentation, you know that they already indicated in the beginning they're going to have all of this available for you on their website. I will even make a copy of a PDF copy of it and send it to them. So contact your host, or you can contact us, but you can contact your host. They do very good work, and they have a lot of other things that will support you, and they will give you the presentation. So don't try to memorize this. You can have the PDF version. So what should be in it? What should it treat? All these things. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because I want to really get to the specific things for the flu season. So all these things, you know about a lot of these, but these in particular are very, very helpful. We talked about the green salve, the wool socks, the activated charcoal, the aloe vera gel, a lot of these, the powdered clay, which a lot of these things, just put together your little kit. Vitamin C and D is very, very important. Raw honey, a lot of these things, you'll have it available. So if you want to work with a practitioner or whatever, you already have the things that you need, and you're not, you're already feeling miserable, and then trying to put all this together at that time, it can be a little stressful. But these are specific things that you want to make sure you have in that first aid kit that relate to the flu season. We talked about a lot of these already, but you want to make, and for females, cramp bark, rosemary leaf tea, a lot of different things that based on what your personal situation is, that you want to have ready so that you can comfortably get through the flu season in a very productive way. So how do I know, Dr. Jim, what my personal requirements and capacity is? You keep talking about this. I don't know. Who knows? Do I need to get a blood test? Are you telling me to go get a physical? No, I'm not saying that. As a matter of fact, the blood test tells you very little. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, anytime you go to get a blood test, if you don't tell them what the issues are, if you don't tell them you have a headache or you have this pain, the blood test tells them very little. Your energy reserves have to be below 30%. Most people's aren't there. Of course, as you get older and sicker, the blood test can tell you something. For most people, the blood test tells you nothing. You ever heard of the anecdotal thing where somebody was told, and I know personally, people told that the blood test was perfect and they literally dropped dead 2 weeks later from a heart attack or something else. So the blood tests tell you very, very little. You tell the doctor what your issues are, and then they read it back to you with a Greek or a Latin term and pull out a prescription pad. Now, it helps the signs and symptoms, but it's not helping the causes and contributing factors. And this is not about arguing a natural versus conventional. The medical infrastructure does a very, very fine job for acute issues. And if you have really serious issues, Western medicine, conventional medicine, there's no better technology in the world. And doctors are the smartest people on this planet. The only problem is that the adversary is trying to sift them like wheat, and they really don't have a very powerful repertoire of things that help people. And you can see that people are getting sicker and sicker. And many of my clients happen to be these days of medical doctors and nurses. But medical doctors and nurses actually make the best naturopaths. They really care, and they really do a very, very good job with it, based on what they have. But what they do, while it's really great for acute issues, so if you have an asthma attack or anything like that, none of those things I tell you, you go to emergency real quick. The only problem is, while their techniques and their the things that they have available are powerful, they only about 5% of the time is it needed. So basically, I figured out why they call it the practice of medicine. They're practicing on the 95%. So their skills are really harnessed and really well when they get to the 5%. And they generally do a really good job on that 5%. There are some things that they do which are medical miracles. Just this, you decide how you want to proceed. I'm just focusing on what a very, very powerful, actually the most powerful system known to man for preventing and reversing all chronic issues, including flu. So how do I know your personal requirements? Guess what? I have some things to help you. Here is a natural IQ health quotient test that you can take. And I have this on a separate piece of paper. So again, I'll send this to the host if you want it. And it's a nice, fun way of going through. Here's the factors that maximize health and you get a score. Factors that minimize health, and you get a score. You subtract the ones that minimize from the ones that maximize, and then you get a score. And then you can see the scoring over here. Radiant health, optimal health, suboptimal health, needs improvement. Now, my number, this says less than 60. When I did this way back when I put this together 30 years ago, I scored in the minus. I was so bad at what I was doing that I had a minus score. But I'm happy to report to you that you can easily work up. With time and effort and energy put to it, you can get up to radiant health, to absolutely what I call outrageous health and vitality. So it's a fun thing to do. And it's one way of you understanding what you want to focus on. And I like it this way because you can see the things that you might want to work on. You might want to just work on one thing a week, or maybe two things based on your motivation, etc. I wouldn't work on more than 3 to 5 at a time. Try to doing everything at once can be overwhelming. But if you did 3 to 5 at a time a week, you can see in a matter of weeks and 3 to 9 months, 6 to 9 months easily, or even 3 to 6 weeks, you can make a lot of headway in terms of a powerful boost to your immune system. But I know there's some out there saying, this is fun, doc. But is there a proven, more scientific approach to evaluating personal health and vitality to determine these systemic or these individual requirements and capacities? And I'm happy to report to you, yes, there is. And it's called Ream's biological theory of ionization. Now, this is a topic for another day, but if you allow me, I want to take less than a minute just to tell you how powerful this RBTI analysis is. And the encouraging thing is, actually, I'm in the process of teaching a level 1 practitioner course right now. We're in the middle of it. And I'm happy to report to you that one of the people that we taught over there in that Maryland area, there's a few of them, but one of them, I believe, is a member of this church that's hosting this. It's a complex mathematical formula. It's the mathematical formula for perfect health that determines precisely where energy gain and loss is, according to, I'm not going to go into all the technical stuff of biological ionization, but well before the symptoms even appear. So you know what your health status is. It's a simple scientific chemical measurement of urine and saliva with a view on individual requirements and capacities, as I said. And you factor in those things of gender, age, weight, height, etc. And it's a guide to what to eat for you, what to take. And there's a lot of really good vegetarians out there that are sick as dogs. I can tell you, they're my clients. Because they're taking something that somebody told them, and they're trying to do this, that, and the other thing that they read in a book, which is what I call doing good things wrongly. So this will tell you what you need to eat, what you need to take based on your individual requirements and capacities, based on your chemistry. I'm not going to even go through this. This is the formula, but you can see that's what you want to aim at. It's a mathematical analysis tool for measuring personal health. And RBTI combines the most powerful analytical tool, which is what I tell you, RBTI, with the most powerful health system known to man for preventing and reversing all chronic degenerative disease, for demonstrating and showcasing God's 8 natural laws of health. That's why I like it so much. It showcases it and it shows. And what I like about it is, and everybody and their brother wants to talk about this system or this product. What's nice about it is, this is an unbiased arbiter, an objective. The numbers don't lie. The numbers will tell you if it works. I say, you do it. And let's look at the numbers for a week or two. If you're better, fine. If you're the same or worse, especially if you're worse, why are you continuing with this product? No matter who the expert is or what they say. And it might work for that expert, but it's not working for you. So it's powerful. It's a scientific-based tool that you can use in your own home. Now, I just finished co-authoring a book, The Ultimate Answer to Health and Vitality, Ream's Biological Theory of Ionization. So any of you want to know it, this is the tools that you need. This is all you need to have this scientific lab-level test, and it goes through. So people, would you want to read this book? It provides a practical, consistent approach for analyzing your body chemistry, made easy with numbers, no guessing. You learn what to eat, what to take, and what to improve for your health. Learn how to add 15 to 30 productive years to your life. All that personal empowerment with a scientific-based laboratory-level test that can be performed at home or in an office environment as well. It's practical, it's personal, it's affordable, etc. So that's all I want to say about it. These are the numbers. This is just a subset of all the things that it tells you. Your oxygen availability, your digestive efficiency, if you really have a cholesterol issue, heart problems, if you're digesting your protein, is your brain working? I mean, on and on. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I want to end up with, anybody can figure out. See, when you use these numbers, you plot them on this chart, so to speak. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out if you're an A, B, C, or D, and E. And based on where you are, it basically tells you general levels of health. So in this area, it's 90 to 100%, and here is 75 to 90. Over here is 50 to 75. Down here in D, it's up to 25 to 50, and this is 4 to 25. And then you notice I said 4. At 4%, if your energy level drops that low, you got what is called the point of no return, NPR, PNR, I'm sorry, PNR, the point of no return. And the only thing that can help you if you're there is the grace of God. But this gives you a nice graphic way as well as a very powerful analytical tool. So the most powerful personal protective equipment is not a hazmat suit and mask and gloves and social separation, but the most powerful PPE for the flu season is a strong immune system. And it's the integrated and comprehensive application of the 8 laws of 8 natural laws of health based on individual requirements and capacities. Now you see the whole story, putting all this together. And that it basically is it. And I just want to end up with, I have many favorite expressions. The Bible is the book of salvation. It's about salve. It's about everything is in there for physical and mental healing as well as spiritual salvation. Salve meaning healing, saving from peril, salvation, healing spiritually, but also physically and mentally. And this is one of my favorite. If thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commands, and keep all my statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee that I put upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. And these are the verses. As I said, there's many, but in the sake of time, I think I made my 45 minute to an hour time frame. I want to wish you all the best of health and happiness and God's richest blessings in all of your health endeavors. I'm ready to answer all of your questions and answers. And if we run out of time, of course, you can go to your great host, and you can also contact us at the International Institute of Original Medicine. As you can see, I'm the pretty face of the operation. Dr. Elisa is the executive director, and this is our website. We have a school where we teach both certificate and degree courses, the bachelor's all the way up to the PhD, certified nutrition counselor, herbalist, etc. And here's a free community that we have, our online health community. And every Tuesday, actually today we did it every 2 p.m. free. And then I have an Ask the Doctor on every Friday for 15 minutes. So that's us. So with that, let me turn it over to our gracious host for any questions. I hope this has been of value to somebody. And if not, I want to thank you for your time and kind attention, for letting me talk about my favorite topic, the most powerful system known to man, God's natural health law. So thank you very much for accommodating me. And if I can help you with your questions, let me shut off this from the Zoom. And then I can maybe, can they show their lovely faces so that I can see who I'm talking to, perhaps?
Okay, so you have me.
Oh yeah, that's one beautiful face.
So yeah,
Can we see the whole
sure. Anyone
whole
at
kaleidoscope?
this time, anyone can put
All
on
of God's
their
lovely children. So anybody, I know,
their
if you're
videos. Yes.
comfortable.
So
I'm
Dr.
not going to hide. Yes.
We have quite a few questions, and you already answered my first question. So much information, such thorough information. Are you going to? You already told us that you will be sharing the PDF of the.
I'll send you a PDF of the presentation. They
Okay.
will have access to the whole presentation from your website, and then I can also send, if you like, Marlene, a copy of this health HQ. the
Yes.
health questionnaire.
Yes, that's a nice tool.
Yeah, because they can use it with their friends and family a lot easier than doing it from a presentation.
Excellent. So we'll have that separately.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, to the questions. First question that came is, can hernias be healed or closed without surgery, even large ones?
That large ones, probably not. Very small ones, maybe. It's very, very difficult. If you get it early and they're small, you can. If you use poultices and etc., you might be able to shrink it. But most times you will need some. You'll need some kind of medical procedure for most hernias. But then by applying these laws of health, of course, if you're applying the laws of health to begin with, you won't get the hernia to begin with. But then it will strengthen your system so that you'll have a good preventive, and you'll have you'll be much you will strengthen the tissue much faster, and you won't be as vulnerable. Very good question, though. But that's one
Oh.
of those areas where I would strongly recommend that you get that you use allopathic conventional medicine to help you with that.
Okay, thank you. So another question came in asking about the cause and solutions for a few different things. Swollen eyelid.
Yes, a lot of really good things. You can do eye cup. You can do it with noni juice. You can use cucumber slices over the eyes. And one of my favorites was noni juice. They're very good eye formulas with lutein, bilberry. So there's certain formulas that are out there that you can use as topicals. One of my favorite for a whole host of eye issues, including cataracts, and glaucoma, etc., is just a drop of onion. I mean, a drop of lemon juice in the morning, and a drop of honey in the evening. It helped with a whole host of glaucoma and other eye irritation issues. So there are a number of very powerful natural things that you can use for ocular issues.
Okay, and I would assume there could be different causes for the swollen eyelid.
Well, oh yeah, well, and it's usually toxicity, germs, bacteria, viruses that are built up, and so the lemon is a very, very powerful antimicrobial. You don't want to put garlic, but lemon, a drop of lemon juice works well, and honey actually works well. And like I said, the cucumber slices, and there are certain natural eye formulas that work really well.
Great.
That I've used with a number of clients with great success.
All right, the next one, because there are quite a few. We want to see if we can get through most of the questions. Pain and numbness in fingers, especially at nights. Cause, solutions?
Yes. Again, at RBTI, go to a good RBTI guy and just find out what the cause is. A lot of times it's too much salt in the system. It could be dietary. It could be heavy metal toxicity, which impacts the myelin sheath for the central nervous system. So all those. Remember, I said in the beginning, if you did these flu things, preparing for the flu season, you'll solve that problem as well. See, these things are systemic, and so again, you want to understand what the cause contributing factors are. If it's nerves, sometimes if it's a structural issue. If you have subluxations of the vertebrae, you might have to go to a good qualified practitioner and get those vertebrae aligned properly. So again, you want to treat. There's no one size fits all, but it's what I want to do is encourage experts. Yes, there is a solution. I work with many of them myself, and there were different kinds of things. I just gave you a subset of some of the things that you want to consider. And most of the time, if you go to a medical doctor, they're basically looking at the sign and symptom, and they want to get rid of it. They want to use a medication or they want to use surgery, and that is not always the best approach. And usually it's the last thing you want to do. See, there's a hierarchy of healing, and where the conventional approach fits is in that hierarchy, but it's not the first thing. You want to go to the causes, contributing factors first, and then use the natural herbs, and then you want to do the conventional when those first three phases don't work. Okay.
Like I said, we do have quite a few questions, and there were duplicate questions from individuals. I'm going to spread it around so we can get many people covered. So this one, the statement: I was diagnosed with costochondritis and inflammation of the cartilage that connects a rib to the breastbone. The doctor said it comes from an impact, so I believe it was a fall. The only thing they suggest is steroids, which I will not take. Can you recommend a treatment? They said there was no cure, but should last 2 weeks to a year. I am strictly plant-based. Thank you.
Yeah, you have to understand when the medical folks say there's no cure, what they mean is they don't know of any drug or surgical procedure. And they're right. A lot of these things you need to really go back to the original medicine. You need to go back to God. And the answer is it depends. A lot of times, if there's a mineral buildup, a calcium buildup, because of poor assimilation, that's one of those things where I would have this person talk to that RBTI person, get their RBTI numbers, and they'll learn a whole lot about what's causing and contributing to it. And you fix what those numbers tell you to do, and it will, and 99 times out of 100, it will resolve it. So a lot of those issues, a lot of these issues are very amenable to these natural things that I talked about. I'm not gonna kind of diagnose and analyze over the internet, but I want to encourage this person. Yes, it's very amenable, and I want to applaud this person for going to God's natural laws. He has a solution, and there are good natural anti-inflammatories out there that you can use. Zyflamen is one of the ones that I use. As combination of turmeric, ginger, and other synergistic herbs, boswellia. So there are herbs that are natural anti-inflammatories. There's poultices that you can use, and then a lot of them where their dietary and mineral buildup and those kinds of things. See, if your diet is off and you're not assimilating or eliminating the wrong kinds of minerals and or heavy metals, that accumulates in the systems, and it puts a major impact on the joints. And
So you would welcome anyone contacting you by either by email or your phone number, as we have shared the contact information?
Yeah, well,
Go further.
as you know, I'm an author, lecturer. I'm also a practitioner and an educator. I have a school, so we do all of those things.
Very good. Okay.
And we're happy to guide them and direct them and get them started on the path for outrageous health and vitality.
All right. Okay. So here's the one that might be a quick answer. Can you please briefly talk about the dangers of eating cheese? Please.
Ooh, don't get me started.
Easy.
Even cows and bulls don't eat cheese. And if you fed a newborn baby, a newborn cow cheese and dairy products, they would die within 6 months. So not even cows. I could just imagine these cows and bulls in the field looking around. So what are we gonna do with all these milk? What are we gonna do with all of this? I don't know. Give it to those humans. They don't use it themselves. So and with all of the hormones that are in it, the way it affects the frontal lobe of the brain, don't get me started. I used to think that pizza was a health food. I tell you, I had some health issues. and that was cheese and toppings and all that. I was sick as a dog. So there are just so many problems with cheese. I have an hour presentation on dairy alone. So suffice it to say, the easiest thing to avoid it as much as possible. Again, if you have the system of a kung fu warrior, you can do it once in a while. But most of us, and I don't. I can do it now. I can do things now, but I don't do it. As a matter of fact, one of my sayings is people ask me, Dr. Jim, can you eat cheese? I said, yes, I can, because I don't. My immune system is so strong, it can handle it. But if I kept doing it, I'll go back to where I was before. So the short answer is there are a whole list of problems. You can have me come back and do a whole hour presentation just on dairy. But I told you, even the cows and bulls don't eat it, and they don't need it. So why do human beings need it? And women in particular. Please don't get me started. I mean, with all those hormones and everything, you have these 5'2", 110-pound women with the hormones of a bull in their system. How are they going to be able to manage that and get through life and dealing with us knucklehead men at the same time? Don't get me started on the dairy.
Okay, we'll move on. What would you recommend for the treatment of enlarged prostate?
Again, go to the cause contributing factors, usually dietary. Again, the same meat and dairy. The quick answer is prostate tissue and breast tissue are the same tissue. Women get the benign tumors. Most of the tumors actually are benign, and they actually are metastasized with the mammograms. But that's a whole nother story. But that's why there's about the same percentage of prostate issues as there are female issues. It affects the men in their prostate, affects the females in their breast. So again, it's diet and lifestyle, the same kinds of things. And they're nice. There are certain hormones, and unfortunately, saw palmetto and nettles don't work that well for a whole lot of other folks. But those 8 laws of health, the dietary and lifestyle, Works real well.
Very good. How can you flush out gallstones? I know
Oh,
y'all
one of my favorite topics.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, we were sued twice when we were in the hospital, when we were in California. And it was because people were scheduled for gallbladder surgery. And my wife, she was a colon hydrotherapy. She said, "Go talk to that skinny, funny-looking guy in the office over there." And for $100 for my set back then, back in the '90s, $75 for the consultation, and the rest for less than $25 worth of olive oil and lemon juice, they got rid of all their stones. They tell you that you have to have surgery. So anyway, they go back 2-3 weeks later for the surgery. All the stones are gone. So you can do a liver gallbladder flush. And that's basically, I'm not going to go through the recipe here, but look it up. Sometimes Dr. Google has it. If not, any good practitioner, any naturopath, or call Marlene. Marlene knows all this stuff. You're just making believe she don't know. And sending the questions to me because she's a little tired and she wants me to run my mouth because she knows I enjoy it more than she does.
Okay, next question. Is there a way to shrink scar tissue that occurred from surgery?
Absolutely. The answer is yes. That's the short answer. Noni oil. There are a number of things that you can do. If you notice, a lot of the scar tissue, the reason why people's scar tissue don't go away because the scar tissue isn't that important. The body works on the most important things first. So it's trying to save your life. So the more you build, remember that chart I showed with the reserves? As you get those reserves to that A area, when you get in the A area, that's the highest level of health and vitality, and this the highest level and the fastest curing. So people aren't getting cured because they continue to doing the same dietary and lifestyle things that got them there in the first place. And scars aren't that important an issue. But I show people I had this 5-inch scar that I got. And basically I got it when I was in my, over 20 years ago. When I was in my 50s, it's gone. It's completely gone. And it was a huge, deep gash all the way down to the bone. Okay. And I just used natural remedies that did have scarring, but the answer is yes. Okay. See, what I'm trying to do is encourage people to get back on to God's side of the equation, original medicine. He is the creator, and he is the smartest biochemist in the world, and he gave us the leaves of the trees for healing of the planet. That's not my statement. The Bible says that. Mm-hmm. And he gave us these foods, these plants, these manufacturing facilities to give us everything that we need to be happy, healthy, and holy for 120 years, no pain, and completely healthy.
Okay. Anything for eye bags?
Yeah, eye bags are usually a kidney stress issue. So you want to take care of the functional integrity of the kidneys. You want to make sure you're drinking enough water. You want to make sure that you're not drinking too much coffee, which is blocking the nephron tubules. Those hundreds of filters on the kidney. So what I look at when I see any kind of eye bags, eye circles, I look at kidney and liver. Mm. And so you want to enhance. You want to see. And that test shows what some of the things are. And a lot of times, I don't need the test. I didn't do the test for years. But you need to analyze the diet and lifestyle. That's why that simple questionnaire, just doing that alone, will improve the function and integrity of the kidneys and the liver. And I didn't go through any of the science. You don't need the science. You just need the 8 laws. God didn't give a whole lot of proof texts. He just said, you just do these things and you will be blessed. Right. Now, there's a lot of good science behind it, though.
Okay, so if you would like to get the PDF of the presentation, please make sure you've either subscribed with us or share your email address now. And the same with the liver flush or the gallbladder.
Liver gallbladder flush and the health quotient.
And right, exactly. So go ahead and put your email address
HQ,
there.
The health quotient test.
As we continue, because there are quite a few more questions. Yes, so on the slide that you showed with the 3 days of fasting, just that whole, can you kind of go back and talk about that first 3 days?
Yes, the first 3 days of fasting. It can be full water with lemon and maple syrup, fast. Now, if you're a diabetic, you don't want to use maple syrup. You want to use molasses, blackstrap molasses, or grandma's molasses, so that you don't have the sugar spike issue. But I said that you can there's different levels of fasting, and one that everybody can do is no food or drink for 18 hours. So that even an 18-hour fast. So if you have your second meal at 2 o'clock, that would be at 8 a.m. If you have, of course, if you have your second meal at 4 o'clock, then you don't want to have the next one until 10 a.m. So that 18-hour fast is very, very powerful. It gives your system a rest. The digestive system of the 12 systems takes up the most energy of all the systems. So even that 18-hour rest, it will allow the system to have a break and to restore. Just like if you run a marathon or something like that, you need some rest before you can go out there running hard again. And we're running hard, eating 3 meals a day and snacks and all of that and coffee. You can see the burden that it puts on the system. So that 3 days is a 3-day of fast, the best that you can do. Now, if you can stay home, now I don't recommend anybody do a full water fast for 3 days, even the master cleanser, unless they have an opportunity for complete physical, mental, and emotional rest. And unless you're young like you, young and vibrant like you can't. Now I know some young ladies, and women are tougher than men. They actually, well, I'm not going to even go there, but actually, I know women who did the master cleanser for 7-10 days of just water, lemon, noni juice to kind of fortify a little bit, which is one of those nutraceutical kind of high integrity. Moringa, you've heard of some of these, but I use noni juice, and with the maple syrup, she actually she did it through finals. She did it while she was still on a weightlifting program. She got the best. She said her head was so clear. She aced all of her finals. So you can do it, but I don't recommend it. I don't know of any older people in their 50s and 60s that can do what this young lady did. But again, based on requirements and capacities, that's what that 3 days is for. And so, and for anything more than 3 days, and for some people, for the 3 days, I would recommend working with a qualified practitioner. And what's nice about that RBTI, it'll tell you if you have the systemic strength and integrity to do it, and the numbers tell you when you need to break it.
Excellent.
So it's powerful. That's what I'm saying. That's why I wanted to give a little shout out at that, because a lot of people don't realize there are some really simple analytical tools that they can own and be empowered for their own family, their friends, their associates, their ministries, and their practices.
Okay, very good. So what to help with low sex drive is another question.
There are some really good herbs out there. Tonkat, Ali, there are a number. There are some simple ones. The diet is the first thing, but there are some synergistic combinations of testosterone enhancing herbs that are out there. I mentioned the Tongat. They're not coming to mind, but there's quite a few. What's the one? The Chinese ginseng. So you can get a synergistic combination of these male enhancement herbs that help quite a bit. And the most important thing, though, for the reproductive system, for both men and women, is you need more manganese in the diet. And so I'll tell you some tips. You don't need to know a whole lot about nutrition. What you need to know is to eat the rainbow. Eat a variety of foods. Most people have a set diet, and they eat the same foods over and over again. The more colors you have in the mood, the red, the yellows, the greens, and all of that's the variety of those 84 minerals. So you don't have to know the science. You don't have to know the where they are. God gave it to us, and so if you eat a variety of foods, you'll get those minerals and manganese, which is in like mangoes and avocados. And so what you don't want to do is you want to look at their diet, and you want to encourage them to eat those foods that have manganese. If you don't have manganese, you can't even become a full woman. You can't have children. That's why 9 and 10-year-olds can't have a baby, because their reproductive organs aren't mature enough. And you have to go all the way up to about 12, 13 years of building up those the manganese, that manganese mineral. And so you can see how eating a good diet and eating, and you don't get a whole lot of manganese in meat and dairy, and you don't get any in veggie burgers. Those make-believe burgers. I want to make believe I'm a vegetarian, so I'm going to eat all this processed thing that the bag that I brought it home in has more nutritional value. And I'm kind of exaggerating to make a point. Once in a while,
Okay.
but people are overdoing it. And so I look at some of my vegetarian friends, and I put it, you want to be on a plant-based whole food diet based on your requirements and capacities, and it will build up all of those. And for women in particular, rosemary leaf tea should be your friend. It really supports the female hormones. And he didn't ask, but Damiana, there's also herbs that enhance the women's hormones as well as men. But there is a group. I don't have them in front of me. As a matter of fact, if that person comes on, ask the doctor. I have the recipe in that list of things that people have asked me about, and I'll
It will be on Fridays.
on Fridays at 10 a.m.
Okay, we'll make sure we share
And
that.
I'll tell that person what those combination of herbs are.
Okay, so let's see if we can squeeze a few more questions in. Dr. Sharps, I would like to help my mother get off her heart medication and get her to use more natural remedies because she is having issues with this medication she is taking. I did bring it to her cardiologist's attention, but he wants her to continue to take it because it's supposed to help keep her from building fluid. What should I do to help transition her to something more natural?
Yeah, that's the number one thing that I work with, and I use some. Let me say this: there are 3 different kinds of medications for cardiovascular. Well, actually 4, but the ones for the heart. They're either ACE inhibitors, beta blockers, or calcium channel blockers, and then they use something like HTCZ, hydrochlorothiazide, as a for the kidneys because of all the buildup that has occurred. So they need a diuretic. There are natural hawthorn berries is what I use. Now I would have her work with a qualified professional, but hawthorn berries has at least 3 ACE inhibitors, 3 beta blockers, 3 calcium channel blockers without the side effects. Now medical doctors don't know that. They don't learn that in school. And some of them know about it, but I bet that cardiologist never heard of it. But it works real well, but it has to be done in a thoughtful way. And for some people, I worked with cases. Now I'm a practitioner and I know what I'm doing, but I've worked with people up in age, 6 or more, and I get them off all of them in a matter of weeks. But I put them on a weaning off program. And one guy challenged me, and I told him I can get him off all of his medications in 1 week, and I can prove it to him. And I did. And I told him if he did everything I told him to do, and I took his blood pressure in the office. I said, if it's not the same or better by the time he left the office, then those numbers, get back on the meds at the end of the week. And when I saw that his numbers, 147 over 90 something, I looked over at Dr. Lisa and I said, oh, this is going to be easier than I thought. At the end of the week, he was 120 something over 80 something, and he was running around to all the churches talking about the miracle. These are just following God's natural laws. So the answer is there is a way. And what I would ask her to do is work with, there's a lot of doctors that are realizing that they needed a little bit more education than they got from college. And they call themselves integrated doctors or functional medicine. And they know about these things. So even if you just want to go to a medical doctor who's equipped and qualified with original medicine, and we have medical doctors come to our school, and I tell you, they make the best naturopaths. They know the science. Now they have something, and they already understand the concept of care. So that doctor has the best interest based on his knowledge, but he doesn't have the knowledge that God gave him. He has the knowledge that some secular institution gave him. And even if it's a school that has a nice Christian name on it, if it's not biblically based what they're teaching, it's not God's laws. They're not teaching God's laws in school. They're teaching pharmaceuticals and surgery. So the doctor is well-meaning, but he's not completely informed.
Okay. Any help for apraxia?
Who's here?
AP?
Remember I told you about these Greek names and Latin names? And in the old days, I used to go, thumbing through. I don't care about these names. Tell me what the issues are, and then and you know, I actually had somebody who came to me and told me how she was a world-renowned expert on it, of this rare disease. I said, so what are you coming to see me for?
Yes.
All this knowledge you have is not working. And 3 weeks later, she was healed. So all this now, all these fans, and the short answer is, I'm not sure what that is. I have to look it up. I have to talk to Professor Google and say, oh, okay, that is such and such. And you know, it's, you know, I studied the same anatomy and physiology the doctors do. Say, oh yeah, once you understand what the organ is and the issue, then oh yeah, these are the dietary, lifestyle, and herbal factors that address it.
Okay, that might have to be a email with more description for you sent. Do you have time for a couple more?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so what can you do instead of knee replacement?
Oh, one of my favorite topics. I had one of our neighbors, one of my Ask the Doctor neighbors, who asked that question about knee pain, and basically I told her to get some royal jelly, pantothenic acid. See, so there are certain things. So royal jelly alone might help, but you can. There are a number of things, but you know, of those, remember those 84 minerals I talked about? 60% of them are calcium. 24% is phosphate. 12% is potassium. So 96% of those three, and then all the other 81 of those 4%. So, but when you were talking about bone issues, you know, when you don't provide the calciums, phosphates, and potassium, the potassium is necessary for the brain, the body pulls it from your system reserves. And where is your largest reservoir of calcium and phosphates? Your bones and teeth. So you're basically sacrificing, or you're going into your bank account. And that's what that RBTI does. It shows you how much you dipped into your bank account, and it shows you how to build it back up. And so bone issues, all those knee issues, and there are medical missionaries out there that can tell you about the cabbage wrap therapy, that you bang the cabbage and wrap it around. But it's all diet and lifestyle, and those ancillary protocols that I talked about for flu are very amenable. All that dietary and lifestyle stuff, this person can be working on the flu, and then, oh wow, my knee is working all of a sudden. And that happens to me a lot of times. They're coming for one thing, and they say, you know what? This, that, and the other thing that I didn't even talk about because they weren't priority. They went away in the first 3 to 5 days.
So that's the first step.
First step.
Diet,
Get back in harmony with God's original medicine.
Very good. I can't tell. We usually have a poll that we put up. If that hasn't been put up, we can do that now, so that you all can let us know what other topics you're interested in, and your impression on this wonderful information that we have received from Dr. Sharps. And again, he has his the contact information. You will have that. There will be the recording will be available in a couple of days at our website, which is empoweredforhealth.com. I should put it here. So yeah, there were a few questions that we did not get to, Dr. Sharps, but we know your time is up here. And we thank you once again for coming out and sharing. And I'm going to ask if you can give us a prayer.
Yes, thank you so much. And let me thank your audience for again allowing me to rant and rave about my favorite topic. I apologize if I went a little bit longer than some of you guys had tolerance for, but this I love God's laws. I love his spiritual laws and his natural laws. And hopefully, as I said, I hope it's been helpful. So let us pray. Gracious Father, we praise you, we glorify your name. We thank you so much for your blessings. We thank you for this opportunity to talk about your laws, to commune with one another and share them. We know that you love us. We know that without you, we can do nothing. With you, all things are possible. So my prayer is that this precious time that we spent together was a blessing to someone and not a curse. that your will was done and not mine. If any good came out of it, all the honor and glory goes to you. I wish nothing but health, happiness, and God's richest blessings on all of his children, those that acknowledge him and those that don't. And I pray this prayer in the very precious name of Jesus Christ, our Lord, our Savior, our very best friend, and the one and only Master Healer. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Sharps, once again for spending this time with us and sharing all this important. Thank you all for joining us as well. And in a couple of weeks for our next presentation, which is going to be a mental health topic dealing with guilt and forgiveness. And then we will also have a cooking demo for Thanksgiving. Again, thanks for being with us. Good night, one and all.
All right, blessings to all.
Blessings.